The town of Willow Creek was a place where everyone knew everyone, and secrets had a way of slipping out like smoke from a chimney. Nestled between rolling hills and endless fields, it was a quiet little settlement where tradition weighed heavy on shoulders, and expectations were as thick as the dust on the old wagon roads. In this town lived a woman named Clara Mayfield, a woman with fire in her heart but shadows in her past. Clara was 24, an age where the whispers of the townsfolk grew sharper with each year that passed. Without a ring on her finger, she was not plain, far from it. Her dark chestnut hair flowed like a river at dusk. Her hazel eyes seemed to hold secrets of their own, and her laugh, though rare these days, had once been the kind that could light up a room. But beauty alone did not soften the hearts of Willow Creek's suitors. One by one they had come knocking, and one by one they had turned away. Some said she was too stubborn. Others claimed her standards were too high, and a few muttered about the Mayfield family troubles that followed her name. Her father had been a rancher who drank himself into ruin. Her mother, a quiet woman who had withered away under the weight of disappointment. She had learned the hard truth of life. Sometimes you could give your best, and it still wouldn't be enough. Still, she dreamed. She dreamed of a life beyond the gossip, beyond the endless cycle of suitors who only came to court her until they found some imagined fault. She dreamed of a man who would see her worth not in her family's past, nor in her dowry, meager as it was, but in her strength, her loyalty, and her heart. But such a man had yet to come. On a crisp autumn morning, Clara found herself walking down the main street of Willow Creek. The sun was gentle, not yet burning with the heat of noon, and the golden leaves swirled around her boots. She wore a simple blue dress, mended more times than she cared to count, and carried a basket filled with bread she had baked that morning to deliver to the preacher's family. She passed the mercantile, where Mrs. Harper gave her a pitiful smile, the kind that felt more like a dagger than kindness. "Morning, Clara," Mrs. Harper said, though her eyes betrayed her thoughts. Still unmarried. Such a shame. "Morning," Clara replied softly, forcing a polite smile before walking on. Everywhere she went, the weight of judgment followed her. It wasn't fair, she thought bitterly, how men could remain bachelors until they were gray and no one questioned their worth. Yet a woman past 20 was treated as though her value had expired. Later that day, as she returned home to the small farmhouse her father had left behind, Clara paused at the fence line and gazed out across the open fields. The land was still fertile, though much of it lay uncared for now. She had done her best to keep the place alive, tending the chickens, mending the fences, and growing could, but it was lonely work. At night, the silence pressed in on her, and though she was strong, she was still human. She longed for companionship, for someone who might share the burden of life's trials and joys. And yet her hope was fading. That evening, a gathering was held at the town hall. Dances were common in Willow Creek, occasions for young men and women to meet, to laugh, and perhaps to spark the beginnings of a courtship. Clara had attended many such events, each one ending the same: polite conversation, fleeting smiles, and then the slow retreat of men who decided she was not the one. Still, she went. if only to quiet the voices that would accuse her of hiding away. The hall glowed with lamplight, music filled the air, and the sound of boots on wooden floors echoed through the night. Clara stood by the wall for much of the evening, clutching a glass of lemonade, her eyes scanning the crowd. She saw familiar faces, men who had once courted her briefly before turning away, women who whispered behind fans as they cast glances her way. As the night wore on, she felt the sting of isolation more keenly than ever. She tried to smile when asked to dance, but the gestures were half-hearted, the conversations shallow. By the time the music slowed, Clara found herself slipping out into the cool night air, her heart heavy. She walked down the steps, pausing to look up at the stars, whispering a quiet prayer she wasn't sure anyone was listening to. "Lord," she murmured, "if there's someone out there meant for me, let him find me before my spirit gives out. I can't keep pretending this doesn't hurt." It was then that she heard it, the sound of hooves on the dirt road. She turned, and from the shadows emerged a rider, tall in the saddle, his hat pulled low, the silhouette of a man hardened by the road, but steady as the horizon. He reined in his horse near the hitching post, swung down with an easy grace, and tied the reins with a practiced hand. As he straightened, the lamplight from the hall caught his face. He was rugged, sun-worn, with sharp blue eyes that seemed to hold both storm and calm. His clothes were simple, a dust-stained coat and boots that had seen many miles. The cowboy noticed Clara standing there, and for a moment their eyes met. Unlike the others, his gaze did not flinch, did not linger with judgment, nor dismiss her as if she were invisible. It was steady, curious, as though he were measuring not just what he saw, but the spirit behind it. "Evening," he said with a nod, his voice low and rough, carrying the drawl of long trails and open plains. Clara blinked, startled by the sudden exchange, but managed a quiet reply. "Evening." He studied her a moment longer, then tipped his hat politely and walked inside the hall. Clara's heart gave a strange, unexpected flutter. She did not know his name, nor why he had come to Willow Creek, but something in his presence stirred hope she had long buried.